Nicholson model, and blood grouping related to the cell membrane structure of blood cells. Even the RBCs are also cells, no? So they will have the plasma membrane, isn't it? So the plasma membrane of RBC will be exposed with particular proteins only from childhood to a particular person who will not accept other blood groups. Okay. Universal donor and universal recipient are different concepts. We discussed that while discussing about the nucleus part. Okay, we find all these things again and again. This terminology will get again and again in the forthcoming sessions. Okay. Akshit, you're not able to hear me. Oh my. Still you're facing the problem? Okay. The next concept is related to the functional aspect of plasma membrane. Discussed. So far we discussed about the structure of plasma membrane proposed in 1972. Okay. Let's take the function of plasma membrane. Could you be able to see the slide? You can see the slide, the functions of plasma membrane. So this is what the cell wall also will do, isn't it? But there's a difference between cell wall and plasma membrane when they are acting as a physical barrier, which when they are separating the outside environment of the cell from different cells of the cell. Okay? Could you only now? Then I didn't say anything. Okay. See, here, if you see the word selectively permeable, this word carries not much importance to plasma membrane. Carries the importance. Let me explain. When you remember the cell wall will have 3 layers we discussed. Middle lamella, then, yes, middle lamella, primary cell wall, then we'll have secondary cell wall. Yes, these are the different layers of the cell wall. And while discussing the cell wall, we talked that the cell wall will allow all the materials to get inside the cell from outside, isn't it? Only the secondary cell wall will stop the permission of it to get into the cell. There I explained about the pits, the gaps. Remember all this terminology, most important one. Yes. Okay. But when it comes to the plasma membrane is not allowing every molecule to enter into the cell. Selectivity. It shows some selective permeability for molecules to enter into the cell. What does mean by selective permeability? It means that the cell membrane will allow only the molecules which are all mixed the cell to enter into the cell. The other molecules it will not allow to enter into the cell. This is blood grouping can be taken as an example. What happens in blood grouping? In blood grouping, the A blood group person can have only A blood group person blood. The cell membrane will not allow the B blood group person blood to enter into the cell. So that's called selective permeability. So the cell membrane will have the capacity to choose what materials has to be entered into the cell and what materials leave the cell. How lines of a cell will be maintained by plasma membrane. Okay? Is that word selective level? Like permeable word. And after selective permeability, there's a term called connection. So this is almost similar to the cell wall apoplast function we discussed. There will be connection between different cells because of the plasma membrane also. Because animal cells will have only plasma membrane. They will not have. So how the animal cells will get communicated with each other? because of the presence of plasma membrane. Here also you will find plasmodesmata. Okay, the same plasmodesmata which will help in connecting various cells. Is this point clear?
Ma'am, it is a bridge-like structure, na? Plasmodesmata.
Plasmodesmata. Not exactly bridge-like structure, but yeah, you can say based on its function, bridge-like structure, but they won't look like bridge-like structures.
Ma'am, it connects other cells with each other.
Yeah, based on functional aspect, we can say like that, but its structure won't be like that. Okay?
Yes, ma'am.
If you see, this is the communication between different cells. Other point related to plasma membrane. Here, how a cell will get communicated, or we can call it as cell signaling. Okay. Wants to ask a question? Yes. Yes, Abhijit, new student. No? Yeah.
Ma'am, just I want to ask why plant cells need cell walls?
Okay. This we discussed actually. Yeah. Let me answer for this question. Plants, if you compare with animal cells, usually won't have any shelter, isn't it? The plants will be exposed to all the environmental factors like the high humidity or temperature variations or rainfall, something like that. So all such environmental changes has to be withstand by the plant. Special or an extra care has to be given for every plant cell in a plant body. That's why plant cells possess cell walls. Okay. When you read the functional aspect of cell wall, you'll get a clear idea of how the cell wall is protecting the plant cell. Am I clear with that, Abhijit?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So here we are discussing the communication functional aspect of plasma membrane. Here, how the cell and cell will get signaling and how a cell and communicated. That point, yeah, I already showed this image in the last session, but we didn't discuss about rejection of foreign cells by immune system. That terminology we didn't discuss in the last session. So I'm just repeating the same thing. See, this is the plasma membrane structure. And when the plasma membrane you take, you will have lipid layer. This is all lipid bilayer we discussed in another day. Protein which we'll see in between the structure. This is called integral protein. And above the protein, we can see a structure. So assume that this is a receptor. Receptor means what? Which will receive. Okay. So when the cell is in its early development itself, the membrane structure will have specific receptors like this. Okay. Each cell will have the receptors like this, which means that all get exposed to some kind of in the early stages of life itself. Then suppose if receptor like this, we can call this as foreign receptor, which is not exposed to the membrane of the cell in its development stage. So this will not be considered as the recognized, and it allows the receptor to enter in cell. This is how the selective permeability role of cell will be done. Okay, so here the foreign verb indicates cells which are not exposed to the membrane during development stage from embryo. Okay. Related to
Start her again.
Ma'am,
Breaking.
your voice is breaking.
Yes, ma'am.
Again.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
I don't find where the first line. Did you get what I so far talked about this foreign cell and the
I
recognized?
understood, but then
Yes, ma'am.
your voice broke,
The
ma'am.
immune, it was breaking in the middle. Okay, that's what you want to say. Okay. Did you get the immune system part? Immune system part. Immune system part is the concept which is related to rejection of the foreign cells. Okay, and recognition of the own cells. This is kind of recognizing own cell, and this is kind of rejecting foreign cell. Okay, so this is how our immune system, in other words, we can say this as the protection system in our body works. Okay, when we compare the present scenario which the whole world is facing, the virus attack, the pandemic issue, you can say that this virus, the COVID virus, as a, okay, that's your body is trying to reject the foreign cell. During this rejection process, we are developing temperature, body temperature increased, and a kind of nausea, cold. All these are the symptoms of rejecting the foreign cell by our immune system, through which we can consider that some kind of foreign particle enters, our body will respond according to that. Okay, so here we are saying that the selective permeability is the main function of cell membrane or plasma membrane. Suppose if the environmental condition changes, the plant can withstand those conditions because of the turgor pressure, I said, turgor pressure applied by the plasma membrane. Are there any such kind of pressures are there to balance an animal cell? You got my question?